First contact failure. Commander Ilara Nash stared at the massive holographic display dominating the command center of Earth's Orbital Defense Station Alpha. The impossible was happening. 17 enormous vessels had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, their angular silhouettes unlike anything in Earth's database. Her palms felt slick against the railing as she leaned forward, counting the ships for the third time. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Lieutenant Commander Russo's fingers flew across his console. Unknown vessels maintaining position just beyond Mars orbit. No response to standard greeting protocols. Energy signatures are off the charts. "Commander." "Define off the charts," Ilara said, her gray eyes narrowing. "Each vessel is generating power equivalent to our entire eastern seaboard. Whatever they are, they're not here for a casual visit." The United Earth Defense Force had prepared for this moment for decades. First contact with a potentially hostile alien civilization. Simulations, protocols, diplomatic training programs, all designed to handle the unknown. Yet the reality of those 17 ships hanging in the void sent a chill down Ilara's spine that no training could have prepared her for. "Patch me through to Central Command," she said, straightening her uniform, "and alert all UEDF outposts. We're at Condition Alpha." Within 30 minutes, the Emergency Council had convened virtually with military leaders and civilian authorities linked from across Earth and the lunar colonies. The atmosphere was tense but controlled. Humanity had survived wars, pandemics, and climate disasters. They would face this new challenge with the same resilience. President Chen's weathered face appeared on the central screen. "Commander Nash, you're our eyes up there. What are we dealing with?" "Unknown vessels, sir. 17 in total, holding position. Technology far beyond our capabilities. They've ignored all communication attempts." As if triggered by her words, Lieutenant Russo called out, "Commander, they're moving. Formation change. They're spreading out to encircle Mars." Before Ilara could respond, the communication officer's voice cut through the tension. "Incoming transmission. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The screens flickered, and a being appeared that sent murmurs rippling through the command center. Humanoid in basic structure, but with iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. 4 eyes. 2 large primary ones, and 2 smaller ones above, blinked independently of the camera. Its mouth was lipless, framed by delicate tendrils that moved as it spoke. "People of Earth," the translation software struggled momentarily before catching up with the alien language. "I am Fleet Commander Zornfar of the Vexari Empire. Your planet has been selected for integration into our dominion. Resistance is unnecessary and inadvisable. We have conquered 1,437 worlds. Yours will be 1,438. President Chen leaned forward. "This is President Lin Chen of the United Earth Government. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but we do not submit to threats. Perhaps we can discuss." "There is nothing to discuss," interrupted Zornfar. "Your technology level has been assessed as Category 3, primitive. Your defenses are negligible. We offer you the opportunity to surrender without demonstration of our power." Ilara watched as diplomatic efforts continued for hours, but the Vexari's position remained unchanged. Surrender or face conquest. When the Earth Council rejected their ultimatum, the Vexari ended communication abruptly. 6 hours later, the first attack came. It wasn't missiles or energy weapons as expected, but something far more insidious. A wave of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but detected by the station's sensors, swept across Earth's surface. "What is that?" Ilara demanded, watching as the strange energy propagated through the atmosphere. Dr. Kapoor, the station's chief scientist, studied her readings with growing confusion. "It appears to be some kind of psionic emission, targeting neural patterns. According to these readings, it should be causing massive neural disruption." "Effects," Ilara barked. Reports flooded in from Earth's surface, and a pattern emerged that baffled both the humans and, apparently, the Vexeri. The energy wave that should have incapacitated humanity had produced nothing more than mild headaches, and in some sensitive individuals, nosebleeds. The Vexeri ships repositioned. A second wave hit, stronger than the first. Again, minimal effects. The third wave, at what the sensors indicated was maximum intensity, produced the same disappointing results. Communications reopened. Zornvar's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, the tendrils around his mouth twitching in what Ilara interpreted as agitation. "Impossible," the alien commander said. "The Mind Shatter has conquered species far more advanced than yours. How do you resist?" President Chen, looking slightly pale but utterly defiant, responded, "Commander Zornvar, perhaps it's time to reconsider your approach. We are willing to establish peaceful relations." "No," interrupted the alien. "If the Mind Shatter is ineffective, we will proceed with conventional methods." The transmission cut out. Moments later, smaller vessels detached from the main fleet, hundreds of them, speeding toward Earth's atmosphere. "Invasion force incoming," announced Lieutenant Russo. "Estimate landfall in 30 minutes. They're targeting major military installations." Ilara felt strangely calm as she issued orders, coordinating with ground forces. The Vexeri had just revealed something crucial. Their primary weapon, the one they had used to subjugate over 1,000 worlds, didn't work on humans. That gave humanity a fighting chance. The first wave of Vexeri troops landed outside major military bases across the globe. UEDF forces engaged immediately, and the first reports were both encouraging and puzzling. The aliens possessed advanced energy weapons and personal shield technology, but their physical strength was comparable to humans, perhaps even slightly less. They relied heavily on technology rather than physical prowess. Ilara watched the battles unfolding across the globe through drone footage and field reports. The Vexeri clearly expected a swift victory, but they found themselves in fierce firefights instead. Their shields could stop bullets, but the concussive force still impacted them. And when humans got close enough for hand-to-hand combat, the aliens were often overmatched. "They're not used to physical resistance," Ilara observed, watching footage of Marines engaging Vexeri troops. "Their weapons are incredible, but their tactics suggest they rarely face direct combat." The battle for Earth continued for 72 sleepless hours. The orbital station became a crucial command node, with Ilara coordinating global defense efforts. The Vexeri deployed increasingly powerful weapons, gravity disruptors that should have crushed bones, neural scramblers that barely gave humans migraines, and biochemical agents that human physiology simply processed and eliminated. On the 4th day, during a fierce battle at the North American Defense Complex, Commander Nash received emergency orders to personally assess a captured Vexeri weapon. She boarded a rapid descent vehicle and headed for Earth, her mind racing with possibilities. What was it about humans that made them resistant to so many alien weapons? The descent was rough, the atmosphere churning with debris from the battles. Ilara's shuttle barely made it to the landing zone, skidding to a halt inside the complex's reinforced hangar. General Rivera met her at the landing zone, his uniform dusty and torn. "Commander Nash, glad you made it. We've got something you need to see." He led her through corridors bearing the scars of recent fighting, scorched walls, makeshift barricades, and the occasional dark stain she tried not to look at too closely. They arrived at a secure laboratory where scientists hovered around what appeared to be a sleek cannon-like device. "Captured 4 hours ago," Rivera explained. "According to our prisoners, this is their synaptic disruptor, supposed to be their most devastating anti-personnel weapon. They're bewildered it doesn't work on us." Dr. Okafor, the lead scientist, looked up from her instruments. "Commander, this weapon targets synaptic functions by exploiting quantum entanglement principles. In theory, it should completely shut down any advanced nervous system, but human brains." She shook her head in amazement. Our neural pathways process information differently than apparently anything the Vexari have encountered before. How is that possible? Ilara asked. They've conquered over 1,000 worlds. Convergent evolution, suggested another scientist. Most species in their territory must have developed similar neural structures. But humans evolved on Earth in isolation, developing a fundamentally different architecture. Before they could discuss further, an alarm blared. General Rivera's comm unit crackled to life. Perimeter breach. All personnel to battle stations. Ilara followed Rivera to the command center, where tactical displays showed a massive Vexari force converging on the complex. They're targeting this facility specifically, Rivera said grimly. They must know we captured their weapon. Or they've decided to capture us instead, Ilara replied, a chill running down her spine. If their weapons don't work as expected, they'll want specimens to study. The attack was overwhelming. Despite fierce resistance, Vexari forces breached the complex's outer defenses within hours. Ilara found herself on the front lines, her military training taking over as she directed defense teams through increasingly desperate combat. In the chaos of battle, a blinding flash erupted from an experimental Vexari weapon. Ilara felt herself thrown backward, consciousness fading as alien figures approached her fallen form. Her last thought before darkness claimed her was a grim realization. The Vexari wanted humans alive, which meant she was about to become a very valuable prisoner. When she awoke, Ilara found herself in a sterile chamber aboard what could only be a Vexari vessel. Restraints held her to an examination table, while alien devices hummed around her. She tested the restraints, solid, but designed for species weaker than humans. With enough time, she might be able to work free. 4 Vexari entered the chamber, their skin shimmering under the blue-tinted lights. One wore elaborate armor that marked it as a high-ranking officer. The others appeared to be scientists, based on their equipment and demeanor. Commander Ilara Nash, said the officer, the translator device at its throat converting alien sounds to English. I am Sub-Commander Vex Nil. You will assist us in understanding human resistance to our technologies. Ilara met all 4 of the alien's eyes without flinching. I don't think I will. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Your cooperation is preferred but not required. We have methods that work even on unusual physiologies. As the alien scientists approached with their instruments, Ilara tensed her muscles against the restraints, testing for weaknesses. She would not break easily, and neither, she knew with fierce pride, would humanity. The human advantage. Ilara maintained a defiant glare as the Vexari scientists circled her, their 4 eyes blinking in asynchronous patterns that she found impossible to read. Their instruments hummed and pulsed, scanning her body with energies she could sometimes feel as a subtle vibration against her skin. Fascinating, murmured one scientist, the translator converting its clicks and whistles into comprehensible speech. The neural structure is unlike anything in our databases. See how the synaptic connections form these patterns. Another scientist adjusted a hovering display that showed what Ilara assumed was her brain scan compared to something else, presumably a Vexari brain or perhaps another conquered species. Even to her untrained eye, the differences were striking. The quantum resonance is completely different, the second scientist noted. It's as if their consciousness operates on a frequency our instruments weren't calibrated to detect. Sub-Commander Vex Nil circled the examination table, all 4 eyes fixed on Ilara. Can you modify the mind shatter to work on them? The lead scientist's tendrils twitched in what Ilara was beginning to recognize as discomfort. Unlikely, Commander. Their neural architecture is fundamentally incompatible with our psychic technologies. It would require a complete redesign, years of research. Vexnil made a sharp gesture that needed no translation. Frustration. What about their physical resilience? Reports from the surface indicate they withstand impacts that should shatter endoskeletal structures. That appears to be a combination of factors, replied a third scientist, manipulating a display showing human muscular and skeletal systems. Their gravity is slightly higher than standard, resulting in denser musculature and bone structure. More significantly, their nervous system processes pain differently. They can suppress it voluntarily to continue functioning despite injuries. Ilara remained silent, absorbing every word. Each revelation about human uniqueness was potential intelligence that could help Earth's defense. She also noted with satisfaction that the restraints holding her left arm had a slight manufacturing defect. The locking mechanism didn't fully engage when she relaxed her muscles completely. "What of their resistance to our biochemical agents?" demanded Vexnil. "Their digestive system evolved to neutralize an unusually wide range of toxins," explained the scientist. "Their planet's diverse ecosystem forced evolutionary adaptations that accidentally grant resistance to our standard compounds." As the aliens continued their analysis, Ilara carefully worked her left wrist, millimeter by millimeter, creating more space in the restraint. Hours passed as the Vexari debated and examined, occasionally addressing questions to her that she either deflected or answered with calculated misinformation. "What interests me most," said the lead scientist eventually, "is their psychological resilience. Other species surrender when faced with superior technology. These humans continue fighting despite overwhelming odds. They lack the capacity to recognize their inferiority," sniffed Vexnil. "I believe it's more complex," countered the scientist. "Their neural scans show unusual activity in regions associated with determination and hope. They genuinely believe they can prevail." "Because we can," Ilara said, breaking her silence. All the aliens turned to her, tendrils quivering in surprise. "Humanity has faced extinction-level threats throughout our history, from nature, from ourselves. Each time, we've adapted and survived. Your weapons don't work on us because we've evolved differently. Your tactics don't frighten us because we've faced worse." Vexnil moved closer, looming over her. "Your species' resistance is merely an inconvenience. We will simply adjust our approach. Instead of neural disruption, we'll use kinetic bombardment. Your cities will be reduced to ash. Then you'll destroy what you came to conquer," Ilara replied calmly. "Not very efficient, is it? 1,000 worlds, you said. How many did you have to rebuild from scratch?" The alien commander's tendrils flattened against its face. Anger, perhaps, or concern. "Your insight is irrelevant. Fleet Commander Zornfar has already ordered the second phase of invasion. Your military installations will be targeted with precision strikes, minimizing damage to infrastructure while eliminating resistance." A distant rumble vibrated through the ship, causing the aliens to look up in alarm. An alert sounded, and displays throughout the laboratory flashed with alien script. "What is happening?" demanded Vexnil. One of the scientists rushed to a console. "Human counterattack. They've deployed some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon. 3 destroyer-class vessels have lost shield functionality." Ilara felt a surge of pride. Earth's scientists must have analyzed the Vexari technology and found a weakness. She used the momentary distraction to work her left hand free from its restraint, keeping her arm in position to maintain the illusion of captivity. "Impossible," hissed Vexnil. "Their technology is primitive. Apparently not primitive enough," Ilara said with a tight smile. "We're quick learners." Another, more violent shudder ran through the ship. The lights flickered, and several of the monitoring devices around Ilara went dark. The Vexari scientists moved frantically between consoles, their normally smooth movements becoming jerky with panic. "Main power fluctuating," reported one. "The humans have somehow adapted our own gravity disruptors against us." Vexnil barked orders into a communication device, then turned to the scientists. "Secure the specimen. We're retreating, Toe." Ilara chose that moment to act. In one fluid motion, she ripped her left arm free and struck the release for her right arm. Before the aliens could react, she had freed her legs as well and rolled off the examination table, crouching defensively. The Vexari were physically unimpressive compared to humans, taller but slender, with less muscle mass. Ilara had been trained in hand-to-hand combat since she was 18, and she put those skills to immediate use. The first scientist went down with a sweep of her leg, its slender body crumpling under its own weight. The second received an elbow to what she hoped was a sensitive area, resulting in a high-pitched keen as it collapsed. Vexnil was more prepared, drawing a sidearm that hummed with energy. "Your resistance is futile, human. You keep using that word," Ilara said, circling cautiously. "I don't think it means what you think it means." The ship lurched again, more violently this time. Vexnil staggered, and Ilara seized her opening, lunging forward to disarm the alien with a technique that had been perfected in dojos across Earth for centuries. The weapon clattered across the floor, and Ilara followed with a precision strike to what appeared to be the alien's throat. Vexnil dropped, gasping for air through damaged breathing apparatus. Ilara secured the alien weapon and moved to the laboratory door, which had failed to lock properly when the power fluctuated. The corridors outside were chaos. Emergency lighting pulsed, and Vexeri crew members rushed in all directions. Ilara moved against the flow, reasoning that the escape pods would be where everyone was heading. She needed to find a communication station, or, better yet, a shuttle. Through viewports along the outer corridor, she could see the battle raging in Earth orbit. UEDF vessels, smaller and technically inferior to the Vexeri ships, were executing complex maneuvers that confused the alien targeting systems. Earth-based EMP weapons continued to disrupt Vexeri shields, allowing human missiles to penetrate their defenses. They've adapted, Ilara realized. In just days, humanity had analyzed alien technology and developed countermeasures. The age-old human talent for warfare, turning an enemy's strength into a weakness, was proving devastatingly effective against the technologically superior, but tactically inflexible Vexeri. She found what appeared to be a small hangar bay containing scout ships. 2 Vexeri engineers were frantically preparing one for launch, barely noticing as she entered. A quick application of the captured weapon set to its lowest setting left them unconscious rather than dead. Ilara had no desire to kill unnecessarily. The scout ship's controls were alien but followed logical patterns she could decipher. Basic flight controls, navigation, communication. The principles were universal. As she powered up the vessel, the hangar bay doors began to close, an automated response to the battle outside. Ilara gunned the engines, sending the scout ship shooting through the narrowing gap and into the chaotic space battle beyond. She quickly oriented herself, identifying Earth below and the scattered formations of human and Vexeri vessels. The communication system activated with a burst of alien language. She found what appeared to be frequency controls and adjusted them until she picked up human transmissions. Unknown vessel approaching from Vexeri flagship. Prepare to intercept. "This is Commander Ilara Nash, UEDF," she transmitted quickly. "I've escaped captivity in a stolen Vexeri scout, requesting safe passage and authentication protocols." There was a moment of stunned silence before a familiar voice responded. "Commander Nash, this is Lieutenant Commander Rousseau. Authentication code Sierra, Echo 97 Tango." Ilara provided her countersign, then asked, "Status report, Lieutenant." "We've turned the tide, Commander," came the jubilant reply. "Their shields are vulnerable to synchronized EMP pulses. Their weapons targeting systems can't handle our evasive patterns. They're programmed for predictable responses, not human improvisation." As if to illustrate his point, a nearby Vexeri cruiser fired a barrage of energy weapons at a much smaller UEDF vessel, which executed a maneuver that would have made a fighter pilot black out from G-forces. The alien weapons missed completely, while the human ship loosed a volley of missiles that struck precisely at the Vexeri ship's power nodes, a weakness that humans had identified and exploited within days of contact. "Can you transmit tactical data from your vessel, Commander?" asked Rousseau. "We're collecting intelligence on their systems." "Better than that," Ilara replied, examining the scout ship's database. "I believe I've got their entire tactical playbook here, and valuable intel on why their weapons don't affect us as expected." She received coordinates for a rendezvous with a UEDF vessel and set course, weaving through the debris field that Earth's defense forces had created from what had once been the invincible Vexari fleet. Within hours, the tide had fully turned. With the intelligence Ilara provided, Earth's forces systematically dismantled the Vexari battle groups. 7 of their capital ships had been disabled or destroyed. The remaining 10 had pulled back to a defensive position, their once perfect formations now ragged and reactive. Aboard the UEDF command carrier Indomitable, Ilara stood beside Admiral Chen, watching tactical displays track the battle's progress. "They're preparing to retreat," the Admiral observed. "Shall we press the advantage?" Ilara considered the data before them. "I don't think that's necessary, sir. They've lost nearly half their fleet to a primitive species they expected to conquer without resistance. Their entire strategy was based on weapons that don't work effectively against humans, the psychological impact alone." As if confirming her assessment, a communication request came through from the Vexari flagship. Fleet Commander Zornfar appeared on screen, his once imperious demeanor notably subdued. "People of Earth," he began, his translator rendering his words with less confidence than before. "The Vexari Empire acknowledges your unexpected capabilities. We propose a cessation of hostilities and diplomatic engagement." Admiral Chen glanced at Ilara, who nodded slightly. "Fleet Commander," the Admiral replied, "we accept your proposal for ceasefire. Be advised that any further aggressive action will be met with the full force of Earth's defenses, which you have now experienced firsthand." The communication ended, and a cheer went up throughout the command center. Ilara felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, pride, and a sobering awareness that humanity had just announced its presence to the wider galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. "What happens now?" asked Lieutenant Commander Rousseau, joining them at the tactical display. Admiral Chen turned to Ilara. "Commander Nash, you've had the most direct contact with the Vexari. Your assessment?" Ilara considered carefully before responding. "They're an empire built on technological superiority and psychological intimidation. We've undermined both foundations. They'll respect strength, but they'll also be looking for weaknesses, biding their time." "Then we don't show any weakness," the Admiral declared. "We negotiate from a position of strength, learn everything we can about their technology and the wider galactic community, and prepare for whatever comes next." 3 weeks later, Ilara found herself in a position she could never have imagined. Aboard the diplomatic vessel Unity, heading toward a neutral location for the first official talks between Earth and the Vexari Empire. As Earth's military representative on the diplomatic team, she carried the responsibility of assessing threats and opportunities from a strategic perspective. The Unity docked with the designated station, a neutral trading post established by a third species that neither humans nor Vexari had encountered before. As the airlock cycled, Ilara stood shoulder to shoulder with Earth's diplomatic corps, her uniform pristine, her posture unyielding. The doors opened to reveal a delegation of Vexari, led by none other than Fleet Commander Zornfar himself, his 4 eyes fixed on Ilara immediately, recognition evident in their vertical pupils. "Commander Nash," he said, inclining his head slightly, "your escape from our vessel was impressive." "Your hospitality left something to be desired, Commander," she replied evenly. A sound emerged from the alien that the translator didn't process, something like a chuckle. "The Vexari Empire has existed for 12,000 years. In all that time, we have never encountered a species like yours, physically unremarkable, technologically underdeveloped, yet possessing qualities that defy our understanding." Earth's chief diplomat stepped forward. "We hope those qualities will form the basis for peaceful relations moving forward." "Indeed," replied Zornfar, though his eyes remained on Ilara. "Though I must warn you, there are other powers in the galaxy far less accommodating than the Vexari. Your uniqueness will attract attention, not all of it welcome." "Then perhaps we have mutual interests to discuss," suggested the diplomat. As the formal proceedings began, Ilara maintained her vigilance, but her mind raced with possibilities. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat, and not merely survived but prevailed. They had done what the Vexeri thought impossible, resisted weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Whatever came next, trade, cultural exchange, further conflict, humanity would face it with the same qualities that had served them throughout their turbulent history: adaptability, determination, and that uniquely human capacity to face overwhelming odds with unflinching resolve. The galaxy would soon learn what the Vexeri had discovered at great cost. When the universe unleashed its strongest weapons against humans, it wasn't the humans who should be afraid.